Princeton, New Jersey. September 14th, 2023. Sunshine Elementary School Room, 3B. Mrs. Patricia Henderson has been teaching kindergarten for 23 years. She's seen thousands of 5-year-olds pass through her classroom. Shy ones, energetic ones, brilliant ones, challenging ones. But she has never seen anything like what's about to happen. It's 10:47 a.m., math time. Mrs. Henderson is at the whiteboard, teaching basic addition with colorful apple magnets. If we have 2 apples, and we get 2 more apples, how many apples do we have? 20 small hands shoot up. 4, the children chorus, except for one child. Max Weber sits at his desk in the back corner, arms crossed, looking frustrated. His curly brown hair is messy as always, sticking up in odd directions. His mother Sarah had tried to comb it this morning, but it rebelled immediately, just like it always does. Max? Mrs. Henderson notices his expression. Is something wrong, sweetheart? Max looks up at her with dark brown eyes that seem too old for his 5-year-old face. This is too simple, he says quietly. Mrs. Henderson smiles. She's heard this before from bright children. Well, Max, math can seem easy at first, but no. Max stands up. It's not that it's easy, it's that it's incomplete. You're teaching addition, but you're not showing them why it works. The fundamental principles, the axioms. The classroom goes silent. Mrs. Henderson's smile falters. Axioms? Max, where did you hear that word? I don't know. Max looks confused by his own words. I know it. Like I know that 2 + 2 = 4, but I also know that's just the surface. Underneath, there's so much more. There's calculus, differential equations, tensor fields. He trails off, his small face scrunched in concentration. Mrs. Henderson feels a cold sensation creeping up her spine. Max, honey, can you come up to the board? Max walks to the front of the classroom. He's small for his age, barely reaching Mrs. Henderson's waist. She hands him a blue marker. Can you show me what you mean? Max takes the marker. For a moment, he just stares at the blank whiteboard. Then his hand begins to move. He writes rapidly, filling the board with symbols and numbers that Mrs. Henderson doesn't recognize. Mathematical notation far beyond kindergarten, beyond high school, beyond most undergraduate mathematics. 2-2 hybris C2 armen, 1-2 argon, 8 PG team. The children are silent, watching. Some look confused, others look scared. Max's best friend Tommy whispers to the girl next to him. What's Max doing? Max steps back from the board. His small hand is shaking. That's the wave equation, and that's the field equation. General relativity. I don't know how I know this. Why do I know this? He drops the marker. It clatters on the floor. Then Max looks at Mrs. Henderson with tears in his eyes. My head hurts. There's so much in my head. Numbers and equations and I remember a big desk, papers everywhere, a violin. I remember playing violin, but I've never played violin. I remember... His voice becomes very small. I remember dying, in a hospital. My stomach hurt so bad. I was trying to write, but my hands wouldn't work. I needed to finish the equation, the unified theory, but I ran out of time. Mrs. Henderson is frozen. She doesn't know what to do. This is beyond anything her training prepared her for. Then Max does something that will haunt her for the rest of her life. He looks directly at her and says, in perfect German with no trace of an American accent, Die Zeit ist eine Illusion. Ich bin zurückgekommen, meine Arbeit zu beenden. Time is an illusion. I have come back to finish my work. Max Weber has never studied German. His parents don't speak German. He's 5 years old, and until this moment, he's only ever spoken English. Mrs. Henderson presses the emergency button on her desk, the one that summons the principal, but she doesn't take her eyes off Max, off this little boy who just wrote advanced physics equations and spoke in a language he shouldn't know. Because Mrs. Henderson, who has a master's degree in education and took a few college physics courses in her youth, recognizes one of the equations Max wrote. It's Einstein's field equation from the general theory of relativity. And the little boy standing in front of her, with his wild curly hair and sad brown eyes, looks remarkably like the childhood photographs of Albert Einstein. What Mrs. Henderson doesn't know yet, what nobody knows yet, is that Max Weber is about to reveal scientific knowledge that was lost when Einstein died in 1955. Knowledge that could change everything we understand about the universe. Because Max doesn't just claim to be Einstein reincarnated, he claims he came back specifically to finish the work, to complete the unified field theory that Einstein spent the last 30 years of his life trying to solve. And he can prove it. 3 hours earlier, in the Weber household on Chestnut Street, Sarah Weber had noticed something strange while making breakfast. Max was sitting at the kitchen table, drawing. Nothing unusual there. Max loved to draw. But when Sarah glanced at his paper, she stopped mid-pour, coffee splashing over the rim of the mug. Max wasn't drawing dinosaurs or superheroes. He was drawing mathematical diagrams, complex ones, circles with lines radiating outward, labeled with symbols Sarah didn't recognize, curved grids that looked like representations of space-time. "Max, what are you drawing?" Max didn't look up. The curvature of space around a massive object. See, space isn't flat, it bends, like a trampoline when you put a bowling ball on it. But this drawing isn't right. It's two-dimensional and space is four-dimensional. I need more paper, bigger paper. Sarah sat down slowly. "Honey, where did you learn about space curvature?" "I don't know." Max finally looked up. "I just know it. The same way I know that light bends, that time moves differently depending on how fast you're going, that E equals mc squared, but that's not the complete equation. The complete one has momentum terms too." Sarah felt her mouth go dry. She had a PhD in physics. She taught at Princeton University, and her 5-year-old son had just casually mentioned concepts that took her years of graduate study to understand. This wasn't the first strange incident. There had been others over the past few weeks, but Sarah had rationalized them away. Coincidence. Something Max overheard. Children picking up fragments from adult conversations. But this was different. This was too specific, too advanced. "Max, have you been watching science videos on YouTube?" "What's YouTube?" "TV then. Science shows?" Max shook his head. "Mom, I just know this stuff. It's in my head, like memories, but they're not my memories. They're from before, when I was different, when I was older, when I lived in that house." He pointed vaguely east. "The White House with the big porch on Mercer Street." Sarah's heart stopped. 112 Mercer Street, Einstein's house in Princeton, the house where he lived for the last 20 years of his life. The house that was barely a mile from where they were sitting right now. Max had never been there. The house was private property, not open to tourists. Sarah herself had only seen it from the outside. "Max, how do you know about that house?" "Because I lived there, with my second wife. Not Mileva, she was my first wife, in Switzerland. Elsa. I lived there with Elsa. And then she died and I was alone with my secretary Helen. We worked on the equations. So many equations. But I couldn't solve it, I ran out of time." Max's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, why do I remember being someone else? Why do I remember being an old man when I'm just me?" Sarah gathered her son into her arms. His small body was shaking. And for the first time, she allowed herself to consider the impossible. What if Max really was remembering? What if reincarnation was real? What if her 5-year-old son somehow had the memories of Albert Einstein? No, that was crazy, impossible. But the equations on the paper in front of her weren't crazy. They were real, advanced, accurate. Sarah made a decision. She called her department at Princeton, asked to speak to Dr. Robert Chen, chair of the physics department and an expert on Einstein's work, told him she needed an emergency consultation. "It's about my son," she said carefully. "He's displaying unusual knowledge, physics knowledge. I need someone to evaluate him." Dr. Chen, intrigued, agreed to meet them that afternoon. But first, Max had to go to school. Sarah had kissed him goodbye, sent him off with his lunchbox, told him everything would be okay. She had no idea that by 11 a.m., her son would be standing in front of his kindergarten class, writing Einstein's field equations on a whiteboard and speaking German. Her phone rang at 11:03, Principal Davis, voice tight with stress. "Mrs. Weber, you need to come to the school immediately. Max has had an incident." By the time Sarah arrived, Max was sitting in the principal's office, coloring quietly. But on the desk, Principal Davis showed her a photo. The whiteboard from room 3B, covered in Max's equations, and a video. Max speaking in fluent German. "Mrs. Weber," Principal Davis said carefully, "I think your son needs more than an academic evaluation. I think he needs a medical evaluation, and possibly a psychological one. What we witnessed today was... I don't have words for it." Sarah looked at her son. Max was coloring a picture of the solar system. He was labeling each planet in perfect order, including their orbital periods. Information most adults didn't know. "I've already arranged testing," Sarah said. "This afternoon. Dr. Robert Chen from Princeton Physics Department." "Not a physicist," Principal Davis said firmly. "A doctor, a child psychologist. Mrs. Weber, your son may be having some kind of neurological episode. Savant syndrome, perhaps. Or he's telling the truth." Sarah's voice was quiet but firm. "What if he really does remember? What if reincarnation is real, and my son is Einstein?" Principal Davis stared at her. "Mrs. Weber, with all respect, that's not scientifically possible. Neither is a 5-year-old writing tensor calculus, but he did it. I saw the board." The meeting with Dr. Robert Chen happened at 3 p.m. in his office at Princeton's Jadwin Hall. Chen was 73, a renowned physicist who had studied under several of Einstein's former colleagues. His office was lined with books, papers, and a single photograph of Einstein on the wall. Max walked in holding his mother's hand. He looked up at the photograph and stopped. "That's me," he said simply. "But older, much older. I look so tired in that picture. I was tired. The equations wouldn't work. The unification kept slipping away." Dr. Chen, who had been skeptical when Sarah called, now leaned forward with intense interest. "Young man, do you know who that is in the photo?" "Albert Einstein. I mean, that's what everyone called me. But I was also called Albert, or Professor Einstein, or sometimes just the old professor. I taught here, at this university. I had an office in Fine Hall." Max looked around. "But this isn't Fine Hall. This building is different." Dr. Chen's expression changed. Fine Hall was the old mathematics building where Einstein had his office. It had been demolished decades ago. Only someone who had actually been there, or who had studied very obscure Princeton history, would know that detail. "Max, I'm going to show you some photographs. I want you to tell me what you see." Dr. Chen pulled out a folder. Inside were images of Einstein at various ages, mixed with photos of other physicists from the same era. Max identified every Einstein photo immediately. But more than that, he provided context. "This one was taken in 1921, when I went to America for the first time. I was seasick on the boat. My wife Elsa laughed at me. She was never seasick." He pointed to another. "This is from the Solvay Conference, 1927. I argued with Bohr. We disagreed about quantum mechanics. He said God plays dice with the universe. I said God doesn't play dice." "But..." Max's small face grew thoughtful. "Maybe I was wrong. Maybe God does play dice. I've had time to think about it, and quantum mechanics makes more sense now." Dr. Chen felt his hands shaking. He pulled out another photo. one that had never been published, publicly. It was a private image from Einstein's personal collection, showing his desk at 112 Mercer Street. Max, can you tell me about this photo? Max studied it. That's my desk, at home. See that paper in the corner? That's the unified field theory. I was working on it the day this photo was taken. And that, he pointed to a violin case barely visible in the frame, is my violin. I called her Lena. I played her every day. Music helped me think. Dr. Chen's voice was barely a whisper. Max, what kind of violin is Lena? Stradivarius, made in 1716. She had the most beautiful tone. Sometimes I played better than I did physics. Dr. Chen stood up abruptly and walked to his computer, typed rapidly, pulled up an article from a rare musical instruments database. Einstein's violin, Stradivarius, made in 1716, nicknamed Lena. This information existed, but only in specialized archives, not in Wikipedia, not in popular biographies, certainly not in anything a 5-year-old would have access to. Mrs. Weber, Dr. Chen said, his scientific skepticism crumbling. I need to conduct extensive testing, but I'll tell you right now, your son knows things he shouldn't know. Things that aren't in books or documentaries. Things that only Einstein himself would know. Sarah nodded. She'd known this was coming. What do you need? Everything. Full documentation. Physics tests. Historical knowledge tests. Language tests. And Dr. Chen looked at Max, who was now playing with a Newton's cradle on the desk, watching the balls swing with intense fascination. I need to contact people. Experts, Einstein historians, maybe even, he hesitated, maybe even Einstein's surviving family. Max looked up from the Newton's cradle. My daughter Liesel, she died. But Hans Albert and Edward, are they still? Hans Albert died in 1973, Dr. Chen said gently. Edward died in 1965. Max's eyes filled with tears. I missed them growing up. I was a terrible father, too focused on work, on the equations. I always meant to spend more time with them, but there was always another paper to write, another theory to explore. And now they're gone. He wiped his eyes with small 5-year-old hands. Is that why I came back? To have another chance? To be a better father this time? Sarah was crying now. She knelt down and hugged Max. You're already a wonderful son. Whatever this is, whatever's happening, we'll figure it out together. Dr. Chen was already making calls to colleagues, to Einstein scholars, to child psychologists who specialized in unusual cases. By the end of the day, Max Weber's case would be known in academic circles around the world. By the end of the week, testing would begin in earnest. And by the end of the month, Max would do something that would shake the foundations of physics. He would complete Einstein's unified field theory, the work that Einstein spent the last 30 years of his life trying to finish. The equation that could unite quantum mechanics and general relativity. The theory that could explain everything. A 5-year-old boy with curly hair and sad eyes would succeed where the greatest scientific mind of the 20th century had failed. Because sometimes souls come back to finish what they started. And sometimes the impossible is just the truth we haven't accepted yet. October 3rd, 2023. 3 weeks after the classroom incident, Max Weber sits in a specialized testing facility at Princeton University's Department of Physics. Over the past 21 days, he's been subjected to every test imaginable. IQ assessments showing scores that break the standard scales, memory tests revealing detailed knowledge of events from the 1920s through 1950s, language evaluations confirming fluent German, adequate French, and reading comprehension of scientific papers in multiple languages. But today is different. Today, Dr. Robert Chen has assembled a panel of the world's leading Einstein scholars. Among them, Dr. Diana Kormos Buchwald, director of the Einstein Papers Project at Caltech. Dr. Hanoch Gutfreund, former president of Hebrew University and Einstein scholar. Dr. Michael Janssen, Einstein historian from University of Minnesota. And via video link, Dr. Jürgen Renn from the Max Planck Institute in Berlin. They've all reviewed the documentation. They've all watched the videos. They're all skeptical. They're all scientists. And they're all about to witness something that will challenge everything they believe about consciousness and reality. Max enters the testing room holding his mother's hand. He's wearing his favorite Einstein t-shirt, a gift from his father that Sarah now realizes has taken on an eerie significance. The room is set up like a classroom, with a large whiteboard, cameras recording from multiple angles, and the panel of experts seated behind a long table. Dr. Chen kneels down to Max's level. Max, these people have come from all over the world to talk to you. They're going to ask you questions about Albert Einstein. Some will be easy, some will be hard. Just answer truthfully, okay? If you don't know something, it's perfectly fine to say you don't know. Max nods. He walks to the whiteboard and picks up a marker without being asked. Can I write something first? Before the questions? Dr. Kormos Buchwald speaks up. Of course, Max. What would you like to write? Max begins writing. His small hand moves with surprising confidence, filling the board with equations. Not simple ones. Not even undergraduate-level physics. These are field equations, tensor calculations, mathematical expressions that most of the people in the room need several minutes to parse. When he's done, he steps back. That's what I was working on the day before I died, April 17th, 1955. It's the unified field theory, my attempt to connect gravity and electromagnetism. But it doesn't work. See here? He points to a specific term. This breaks down at quantum scales. I knew it. Was wrong, but I couldn't figure out how to fix it. That's what kept me up at night. Dr. Janssen is staring at the board with his mouth open. My God, this is equation 7.3 from Einstein's unpublished 1954 manuscript, the one that's still in restricted archives at Hebrew University. Max, how do you know this equation? Because I wrote it. Max's voice is matter-of-fact. In my study at 112 Mercer Street, on yellow legal pads. I went through so many legal pads that year. Dr. Gutfreund leans forward, speaking carefully. Max, I'm going to ask you something very specific. In that study at 112 Mercer Street, there was a particular object on Einstein's desk, an unusual object that appears in no published photographs. Can you tell me what it was? Max doesn't hesitate. A small statue, bronze. It was a gift from a student in Japan, a figure of a man sitting in meditation. I kept it next to my pen holder because it reminded me that sometimes the answer comes when you stop thinking so hard, when you let your mind be still. The room goes silent. Dr. Gutfreund's hands are shaking as he pulls out his phone and shows an email to Dr. Chen. It's a photograph from a private collector who purchased items from Einstein's estate. On the desk, a small bronze meditation statue. This photograph has never been published. It exists only in estate documentation. Dr. Renn's voice comes through the video link, speaking in German. Max, kannst du mir auf Deutsch antworten? Can you answer me in German? Max switches to German without pause, his accent perfect. The accent of educated Swiss German from the early 20th century. Natürlich, Herr Doktor. Ich spreche lieber Deutsch. Es ist die Sprache meiner Kindheit. Of course, Doctor. I prefer to speak German. It's the language of my childhood. They converse for 5 minutes entirely in German. Dr. Renn asks about Einstein's childhood in Munich, his education in Zurich, his time at the patent office in Bern. Max answers everything correctly, but more than that, he provides personal details, emotional memories, descriptions of feelings and experiences that appear in no biography. When they switch back to English, Dr. Renn is visibly shaken. His German is perfect, not learned German, native German, Swiss German dialect from the late 19th century. And the details about the patent office. I've read everything Einstein ever wrote about those years, and Max just told me things I've never encountered. Personal observations about his colleagues, about the walk from his apartment to the office, about the smell of the coffee in his favorite cafe. Dr. Kormos Buchwald decides to try something different. Max, I'm going to show you some letters, handwritten letters. I want you to read them and tell me what you think. She pulls out reproductions of correspondence from the Einstein Papers project. Letters Einstein wrote to his friend Michel Besso, to his colleague Max Born, to his son Hans Albert. Some of the letters have never been fully published, containing personal reflections that were deemed too private for biography. Max reads them quietly, his small finger tracing the German script. When he gets to one particular letter, Einstein to Besso, dated March 1952, he starts to cry. I was so sad when I wrote this. Michel understood me better than almost anyone. He died in 1955, just a few weeks before I did. I wrote here that physics had become a habit, a way to avoid thinking about how lonely I was, that the equations were easier than people. Max looks up, tears streaming down his face. I wish I had been better at people, better at being a husband, a father, a friend. I spent so much time with abstract ideas that I forgot to really live. Sarah is crying too. The panel members are silent, many visibly moved. Dr. Jansen asks a question that changes everything. Max, you've been saying you came back to finish your work. Do you think you can solve the unified field theory? Do you think you can succeed where Einstein failed? Max wipes his tears and looks at the equations he wrote on the board. Yes, because now I know what I didn't know then. Quantum mechanics, string theory, all the developments that happened after I died. When I was Einstein, I was fighting against quantum mechanics because it seemed to say that God plays dice with the universe. But now I understand God does play dice, and that's okay. The randomness at quantum scales is part of the elegance. He picks up the marker again. The mistake I made was trying to reduce everything to geometry, trying to make electromagnetism work like gravity. But they're different because of quantum effects. If you add quantum field theory to general relativity, and if you... He starts writing new equations. If you introduce extra dimensions, very small ones, curled up at the Planck scale. The equations flowing from his marker are unlike anything in the original unified field theory. They're incorporating modern physics, concepts that didn't exist in Einstein's lifetime. Quantum chromodynamics, the Standard Model, supersymmetry. Dr. Chen is taking photos with his phone, his hands shaking. The other scientists are leaning forward, some taking notes, others just staring in disbelief. Max writes for 20 minutes straight, fills 3 whiteboards. His small hand never hesitates, never makes an error. When he's done, he turns to the panel. This is how you unify them. This is the theory of everything that I couldn't find before. It's not complete. I'd need years to work out all the mathematics, to make predictions we could test. But this is the framework. This is what I came back to show. Dr. Wren, the Einstein historian who has studied the great physicist's work for 40 years, is openly weeping through the video link. Das ist unmöglich, aber es ist auch brillant. This is impossible, but it's also brilliant. Over the next 2 months, the equations Max wrote are analyzed by theoretical physicists worldwide. They're checked for mathematical consistency. They're compared to experimental data. They're tested against every known physical phenomenon. And they work. Not completely, not perfectly. Max is right. Years of work are needed to flesh out the full theory. But the framework is sound. The core insight is revolutionary. A 5-year-old child has made a breakthrough that could reshape physics. But the most compelling evidence of Max's claims doesn't come from physics at all. It comes from a trip to 112 Mercer Street. November 15, 2023. The current owner of Einstein's former home, a private individual who has carefully maintained the property, agrees to allow Max to visit. The visit is documented by Dr. Chen's team with full video and audio recording. Max approaches the white clapboard house with visible emotion. It looks the same. The trees are bigger. The porch has been repainted. But it's the same house. They enter through the front door. The interior has been renovated multiple times over 68 years. The furniture is different. The wall colors have changed. It doesn't look like Einstein's home anymore. But Max walks through the house like he owns it. He goes straight to what was his study, now converted to a modern office, and stands at the window. I used to stand here and look at the garden while thinking. Helen would bring me tea. I always forgot to drink it. It would get cold. He walks to a wall and touches it. There was a blackboard here, a big one. I filled it with equations every day, then erased them, then filled it again. The important work was always on paper, but I needed the blackboard to think. Dr. Chen checks historical photos. There was indeed a blackboard on that exact wall. It's mentioned in one memoir by someone who visited Einstein, but it's not common knowledge. Max goes upstairs to the bedroom, stops in the doorway, won't enter. This is where I was, the night before I went to the hospital. I was in so much pain. The aneurysm in my abdomen had been growing for years. I knew it would kill me eventually. I just wanted a little more time to finish the work. He looks at Dr. Chen with those ancient eyes in a child's face. On April 17, 1955, the aneurysm ruptured. Helen found me in terrible pain. They took me to Princeton Hospital. I refused surgery. I was 76 years old. I'd lived long enough. I just wanted to go naturally. They gave me morphine for the pain, but I stayed conscious. I kept asking for my papers. I wanted to work on the equations until the very end. Sarah has been quiet throughout the visit, but now she speaks. Max, what happened in the hospital? Do you remember? Max nods slowly. It was the night of April 17th, early morning of April 18th, really, around 1:15 a.m. I was alone except for the night nurse. I tried to speak to her in German. I wanted to say something about the equations, something important I had just realized. But she only spoke English. She didn't understand. I tried to reach for paper to write it down, but my hands wouldn't work. And then... He pauses, tears flowing freely now. And then I felt myself letting go, drifting. I wasn't scared. I was just sad I hadn't finished. That was my last thought as Einstein. Sadness that the work was incomplete. The nurse on duty that night, Johanna Fantova, did report in her private diary that Einstein spoke in German in his final moments, words she couldn't understand. He also tried to reach for something on the nightstand. This diary wasn't published until decades later, and the specific details aren't widely known. Max? Dr. Chen asks gently. What were you trying to say? In German that the nurse didn't understand? Max speaks in German. Die Antwort liegt in den zusätzlichen Dimensionen. Nicht 4, sondern 11. The answer lies in the extra dimensions. Not 4, but 11. Dr. Chen feels chills. Max, that's string theory, M theory, 11 dimensions. But that theory wasn't developed until the 1990s, 40 years after Einstein died. I know, Max says quietly. I had the insight at the very end, but no time to explore it. That's why I had to come back, to finish what I started, to show that the universe is more beautiful and more strange than we imagined. The final piece of evidence comes from an unexpected source. In December 2023, Dr. Gutfreund receives permission to access a previously sealed section of Einstein's papers at Hebrew University. Letters and notes that Einstein had requested remain private for 70 years after his death. Among these papers is a letter Einstein wrote to his friend Besso, in March 1955, 1 month before his death. In it, Einstein writes about a dream he had. "I dreamed last night that I died, but that death was not the end, that I would return someday in a different form to complete the work. Michelle, my friend, what if consciousness continues? What if I get another chance?" When Dr. Gutfreund shares this letter with the research team, even the skeptics fall silent. Einstein himself, in his final weeks, contemplated the possibility of return. January 2024. The scientific community is divided. Some accept Max's case as genuine evidence of reincarnation or consciousness transfer. Others propose alternative explanations: cryptomnesia, savant syndrome, some unknown form of genetic memory. But nobody can deny the facts. Max Weber knows things he shouldn't know. He can do things he shouldn't be able to do. And the physics he's proposing is revolutionary. Dr. Chen publishes a carefully worded paper. The Max Weber Case, an investigation of anomalous knowledge in a 5-year-old child. It becomes the most downloaded and most controversial paper in the history of physics journals. Max himself? He continues to be a relatively normal 5-year-old. He goes to school, plays with friends, watches cartoons. But several hours a week, he works with physicists, developing his unified theory, advancing physics in ways that shouldn't be possible. "I'm not Einstein anymore," Max tells his mother one night. "I'm Max, but I have his memories, his knowledge, his unfinished work. It's like I'm carrying his torch forward, finishing the race he started." "Does it make you sad?" Sarah asks. "Remembering being someone else? Someone who died?" Max thinks about this. "Sometimes. But mostly it makes me grateful. I get to be a kid this time. I get to play and have fun and not carry the weight of being a genius all the time. And I have you and Dad. And you love me just for being me, not for what I can discover or prove." Einstein didn't always have that, but Max does. He smiles. Maybe that's the real unified theory, finding the balance between the work and the life, between the equations and the people. Einstein struggled with that, but Max is going to do better. Epilogue. June 2030. Max Weber is 12 years old. The unified field theory he proposed at age 5 has been developed and refined by physicists worldwide. It's led to technological breakthroughs nobody anticipated: new forms of energy, advances in quantum computing, a deeper understanding of black holes, and the nature of time itself. Max is in 7th grade. He's on the soccer team. He plays violin. And yes, he's remarkably good, though he insists it's just practice, not memory. He has friends, hobbies, a relatively normal life. But once a week, he meets with a research team at Princeton. They're working on testing the predictions of his theory. So far, every experimental result confirms what Max proposed 7 years ago. Last month, Max received a letter from the Nobel Committee. He's too young to receive the prize. They have age restrictions. But they wanted him to know that his work is being considered. That when he's old enough, the Nobel Prize in Physics might have his name on it. Einstein won the Nobel Prize, Sarah mentions casually one evening. "I know," Max says. "But that was for the photoelectric effect, not for relativity. He was always disappointed about that." He pauses. "But if Max Weber wins a Nobel Prize, it'll be for finishing what Einstein started. And that feels right, like passing the torch from one runner to the next." He looks at his mother with those wise eyes that have seen more than one lifetime. "Mom, do you think other people come back? Other scientists, artists, teachers? People with unfinished work?" "I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe. Why?" "Because if I came back to finish Einstein's work, maybe others come back too. Maybe that's how knowledge moves forward, not just through teaching new people, but through souls returning to complete what they started. Maybe that's the real continuity of consciousness." Sarah hugs her son. her brilliant, mysterious, impossible son. That night, Max dreams. He's standing in a study with wooden bookshelves and a blackboard covered in equations. An old man with wild white hair stands beside him, smiling. "You did it," the old man says in German. "You finished what I couldn't." "We finished it together," Max replies. "You started the journey. I just walked a few more steps down the path." The old man's smile widens. "Tell me, young Max, was it worth coming back?" Max doesn't hesitate. "Yes. For the physics, yes. But more importantly, for the life. For learning to balance the equations with the living. That was the real lesson I needed to learn." When Max wakes up, he writes down a new equation. Not physics this time. A different kind of formula. Life, work, love plus wonder. He tapes it above his desk next to a poster of Albert Einstein. The old physicist's eyes seem to twinkle with approval. Because some knowledge can only be gained by living twice, and some souls come back not just to finish their work, but to learn how to live more fully. The equations matter. The theories matter. The Nobel Prizes and the breakthroughs and the advancement of human knowledge, all of it matters. But so does the soccer game on Saturday. So does the friend who needs help with homework. So does the mother who makes pancakes on Sunday mornings, and the father who teaches him to ride a bike. Max Weber understands something that Albert Einstein took a lifetime, and then some, to learn. The universe is vast and mysterious and beautiful. But so is being human. So is being loved. So is being a child who sometimes knows the secrets of space-time, and sometimes just wants to play. That's the real unified theory. Not just uniting gravity and quantum mechanics, but uniting the cosmic and the personal, the infinite and the intimate. And maybe, just maybe, that's why souls come back. To get it right. To find the balance, to live the equation.